always felt lost. I was always seeking something. I couldn't name it, but it was just a deep loneliness. And now I understand I wasn't embodying myself. That primordial trauma always circles back in the relationships that we have today. But the deeper core, if you don't touch it, that person will always experience a sense of emptiness. We are spheres of light and we are sovereign. Cosmic trauma, primordial trauma, it needs to be clear. And then that light can flow.
Today, I'm sitting down with Sabrina, and this is a conversation about what happens when you realize you've been living as someone that isn't really you. Does that sound familiar? And what it actually takes to truly come back to yourself. If you've ever had that feeling that something's just slightly off, like you're not fully present, not here, you'll get a lot out of this today, I promise you. This one does take a minute to land, but once it opens up, it goes deep fast. So stay with it. But I would recommend giving it your full attention, this one, as there's a lot in you, I promise. And I just want to give a shout out to Sabrina, because after recording this episode, I ended up doing a session with her remotely, of course, because she's in Belgium. And I purely wanted to do it because I could feel that something was very real there and what she brings to the table. Anyway, enjoy this episode. It's a great one. Sabrina,
Good.
Welcome to the podcast.
Hi. Hi, Keith. Thank you for having me on board. I'm very pleased.
Yeah, and I apologize that I've kept you up so late. I had no idea of the time difference, but...
I chose the timing, so it's really okay.
Yeah, beautiful. You're in Belgium, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, look, I stumbled across you, invited you on the podcast, and I love to start the podcast like this, but if you were at an intimate dinner party or you were with a group of strangers and somebody asked you what you did for a living, how would you respond?
I usually respond in a very simple way, but what I do is I work with people, and I tap into the core pattern of the soul. So I don't do the usual therapy, healing, reading, etc. I dive into the core of the soul, and I look for that vibration, and then patterns that evolve from there, trauma, etc., patterns, distortions, we heal them together. So basically what I say to people is I start from the root where our soul came into existence, and from there we ascend back into the now, and we align with that original hum. I was listening to a documentary. I think it was last week, and it was a professor at the university here in astronomy, and she said she loved to look at the stars, and I didn't know that. And then they asked her why, and she said because every star has a specific sound. I didn't know that, but that's exactly what I do with people. I listen to the sound of the soul, and then that sound, I know how it sounds. So when I work with them, I work in that period of time towards regaining that exact same vibration. So that's what I do.
Okay, that's opening up two direct paths for me already. One is like to go down this vibrational sound of the soul. But firstly, it's what I'm curious about is how do you get to the point in your own life that you're able to tune in and listen to the vibrational sound of the soul of somebody else, to be able to get to that root? Because
I had my own long journey.
As we all do.
I think as everyone. Yeah. So I did a lot of things. I did myself I underwent a lot of therapy. I did a lot of courses. I did healing courses, reading courses, retreats, etc. I am a therapist. I am a child therapist as well. And at a certain point, I was feeling a ceiling. I knew, okay, I want to go deeper, but I can't. And that is why where I went, people couldn't help me. So at a certain point, I sat down because I felt something wanted to come, and I call it downloading, but I had to sit down, but I knew it needed to come from me. So I downloaded transmissions. I call it Venus light. And while I was listening to it, it purified me. And I've been doing them with people as well. And it's actually that which helped me. What we do usually, what we create is always in first instance for ourselves, right? That's how I see it.
Was there a pain in your life that was driving you to lean into the retreats and the courses and the spiritual work initially? Or was it more from a just open curiosity basis, or were you having experiences? Like what?
I always felt lost. I never really felt well rooted in my body. I felt lost. Felt I was always seeking something, and yeah, I wasn't happy with what I was living. I felt that what I was living was flat. I had everything materially, but I wasn't living any depth, at least what I wanted. I guess that was the pain that I was living. So I call it this existential tiredness.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, how that resonates, but that's actually what I felt during my entire childhood. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've no doubt many people will relate to that. That's my childhood, just feeling lost and never really, always on the outskirts looking in, as opposed to being able to do what everyone else was doing and commit to that path that we kind of shown of this is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, and from that there was a stirring. I'm curious as well. So in that evolution of yourself, and you said that there was a point where you wanted to go deeper, and you started to connect to the Venus light as well. And
it's not the planet Venus, huh?
yeah,
but
talk to me about that transition
yeah.
as well, because I feel like people are leaning into this work. They're trying to evolve themselves, but obviously it starts to bring stuff up as well that we have to deal with and move past.
Yeah.
But getting to that root.
What I was what I was doing at that time in my life, I was a Merkaba teacher, so I was activating people in Merkaba consciousness, so this light body work, and I really loved it. It was I enjoyed giving these workshops.
You're gonna explain, but can you explain to everyone what the Merkaba is before and activating that light body before you go further?
Oh,
because you lose people.
Sure.
I promise you. Yeah.
Oh, you don't. Maybe do you want me to go this technical?
You break it down a bit. Yeah. What's the Merkaba?
So the Merkaba, you have a physical body. And around those physical bodies are several other bodies. And what we did, I was working with Johan. He was a teacher in the Netherlands. So there was this angelic body, archangelic body. There was a Melchizedek body. And then you had the moon body, the solar body, the galactic, the universal bodies. So I was working in that kind of protocol, I would say. And I enjoyed it, and I did that from 2012 until 2020. But at a certain point, I felt, okay, this is great expanded consciousness, and I'm enjoying it. However, I don't feel something within me is missing. Something within me is missing. I'm going to try to explain this really well. What was I feeling? I felt expanded, and I felt that I was, seeing things differently, experiencing reality differently. I felt different than I did before, better. But I had this loneliness in me, this I couldn't name it, but it was just a deep loneliness. And now I understand I wasn't embodying myself, my core. I wasn't embodying that, and I was still having this deeper layers of trauma. I was out there in all these layers, but not in my deep soul.
I know, I hear you and I understand. And I got to close the loop in my mind and for the listeners, because then are you saying those other bodies are part of the Merkaba and that you're activating them per se? That's giving you
But they're also
they're all
it's these are your light bodies. So a light body has many layers, and if you look at it from the 3-dimensional viewpoint, the earthly one, well, in that perspective, we have many layers within it. Yeah.
And the Merkaba is the name for the light body. Then you have multiple layers in it. Is that what you would say? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's like a vessel. The Merkaba is a light vessel that allows you to travel to light travel, for instance.
To light travel.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the Merkaba, we could, for instance, visit etheric retreats around the earth. If you wanted to visit the retreat of Sanat Kumara with that expanded consciousness, you could.
Okay. So when you say light travel, so we are consciousness, we are light, and we're using a body to experience physical form. So what you're saying is that we can get into expanded states through the Merkaba light body. That's then allowing us to take our consciousness somewhere else and move that light. So then we could be having a direct experience of it in an expanded state in a different space. Is that?
The beauty of it was, you went, for example, to the Temple of the Essenes, and there, I saw and felt there were beings all over there. I actually received my daughter there. That was a beautiful experience, and I didn't even know I was pregnant. So you visit those places and you receive healing. There's water there everywhere. So water, but in different substances. It's light, it's etheric water. So water is healing in etheric retreats that are not earthly. And there are many beings there that help you.
So all this, though, is on a different resonance, right? It's at a different field.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to really ground it for people so they understand, because this is fabulous. This is why I knew to get you on the show.
But at a certain point, you have retreats in certain tones between the third and the fourth dimension, and the fifth and the sixth and the seventh, and etc. But at a certain point, what I saw was, and what they showed me, is that the retreats were coming more closer and closer to the earth. So I knew the light, higher frequencies, the expanded states where the lighter beings live, that was descending more where we are now. So I knew time will accelerate. I knew, it's time to do this here. We don't need to be there anymore. They are coming here. That is what I literally saw.
So those,
and now that I'm talking about this, maybe that is why I made that switch. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating, because the one thing I've kind of lent into on my own exploration, because I've had multiple experiences where I've expanded beyond myself, been in different realms, had these, like, this is as real as this conversation, what the hell is going on here? And then to come back, but felt like there's these teachings. But when I initially lent in, it felt like it was an opportunity to escape what I didn't want to deal with here, as opposed to actually look at the fundamental reasons why I'm here, and to really ground myself and bring myself into experience and all that is to offer in our reality, but start to ideally bring that more of the expanded self in to create more of heaven on earth, as opposed to escaping earth to try and find heaven.
Yeah. I think in a way, I truly enjoyed it, and it has been so beneficial to me. But if I see myself now, and I compare myself with then, I am much more grounded, and I integrated the light into my life. I translated it. I changed my life so it was aligned with my soul. And in that Merkaba story, I wasn't doing that.
It's amazing.
So
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
it
yeah.
kind of like escaping, but
No, for sure. I'm talking
maybe,
about my
yeah,
journey. That's what I realized, as opposed to.
yeah.
But wait, how when you're having those expanded experiences and you're going around the world teaching this, and you know the life expand, teaching people how to activate and expand in the light body, and actually light travel and things like that. What's that doing to you on the day to day? How are you living your life when these experiences are happening? Does everything just feel so
Back
back then?
then,
Yeah.
it was nice because you know what I remember? At a certain point, we were working with Elohim angels, and there's an Elohim angel that's called Oceania. And at a certain point, we were working with that energy because we were going into that realm. And in my room where I was working with those people, the entire room, there was this band of water. It was that high from the ground and that high from the ceiling, but it was all water. So how did I live my life? There were moments of magic that we don't experience to that extent here. Like now, because now I'm more into I am presence embodiment. I am more into translating my highest potential and embodiment here. It is less magical because it's my soul. At least that's where I am right now. You know, I we could again co-create with those beings, but I chose to first do all that I needed to not bypass anymore because that's what I felt I was bypassing.
So I'm just trying to understand what you just said then. So are you
Yeah.
saying, please correct me if I'm completely wrong, but that there were aspects of your soul that still required healing to fully embody the I am presence within yourself. But
Yeah.
at the time, you were kind of leaving that to one side and using the channeling and the interdimensional beings and everything else to be working to helping people, as opposed to. So there's still parts of ourselves that haven't been fully integrated, but we can be off over here working with all these beings and not really
Yeah.
healing those aspects of ourselves first.
That's what I felt.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And even while giving a workshop and igniting and activating other people, each workshop that I gave, it gave something back to me. So I was also healing, but not in the intense way that I'm doing right now or that I have done in the last 5 years, I would say.
Wow. When you made the decision to really like lean into these last 5 years where you fully embody your I am presence, then what happened? Did your life fall apart? Did you just or does it just integrate nicely and steadily? How does your nervous system cope as well? Because
That's a good
one thing
question.
I'm finding is that even in like, because I'm holding space for a lot of people, and that the energy is coming more and more through, my body is continually like learning and adapting and getting into the nooks and crannies, if you like, of things that need releasing. But at the same time, there's elements where I get to where my nervous system, I know, doesn't feel safe. There's like a reaction point to that. And it's like, whoa, and then the whole body can overdrive,
When,
you know.
right. When do you feel that? When you're holding
Not
space, you
when I'm
mean?
holding space, no, in my own personal experiences, then,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so um, what I felt is that I broke down several times. I crumbled several times. My realities just crumbled several times. And I rebuilt myself several times from new perspectives, new feelings, new ways of being. What I learned, and I am still learning, is that you have so many realities. And so each time I dissolve, each time that I go further, I am aware that I was living in a reality that at that time was aligned, but now it's no longer. So Merkaba was multidimensionality. Now, while I was going into my own thing, my Venus light is my own thing, I deconstructed multidimensionality. I took all my multidimensional selves and I brought it back home. So there is no fragmentation. And so while you bring that all in, all these aspects, and I could go on telling about it, but all these multidimensional aspects, they are a part of my soul, yours as well, so your multidimensional aspects. But you have a core vibration, right? And so all these dimensional selves have a vibration, but slightly maybe, like slightly maybe 10% off. Not 10%, but if you have 360 degrees, maybe 10 degrees off. So there's always something different about every vibration. And so it means that they have a different reality view. And when you bring them all in, you start dissolving them, and then you come back to one one reality, one way of living, one way of being. And how was that? I became lighter physically, even my bones. It was very strange. And emotionally, it became very, very simple. My desires, I don't have many anymore, other than just being present and content and, in good company with people I appreciate. And at a certain point, I couldn't project anything in the future anymore, because for me, I didn't know what I want. I just enjoyed the now. And I still do. I don't have specific desires or ambitions anymore. I have to function as a human, so I work, etc. I have to earn my money and take care of my children. But I am really viscerally, physically in the now, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. That changed, and I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah, beautiful.
We usually have plans, we usually have ambitions or goals or something that we want. I don't have that.
But
it's becoming very simple.
Yeah, that could scare people, though, the thought of, like, because we kind of, underneath the surface, we think we're in control, and there's an element of sense of safety within ourselves if we're controlling, or the illusion of, if I've got my goals, I've got my plans, everything is lined up, everything, I'm in control of my life here, when
I have full control over emotions. And before I didn't, because I could get ups and downs, or something could, before it was always healing something. I always felt there was something to heal, something was not done yet. And now I don't have that anymore. I feel it's good. Nothing is triggering, nothing is coming up. So that for me is, you could call it control, but it's stability. It's very peaceful stability. Does it scare me that I do not project very far in the future? No, because I know if I want to do something, I will. I will create it. It will be there.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
So, okay.
it's
No,
different.
it's great. This is what this conversation's all about. Like, I'm really starting to get an understanding now of your journey and different aspects of it. Do you feel that then the frequencies, because you mentioned about the planets, we haven't to go out so far anymore, in terms of the light that
Yeah,
it's coming in. So from your
yeah,
perspective, what do you feel is happening? Are we all being, as human beings, kind of being pressured from the energies to start to really look at the I am presence of within ourselves and the fractured parts of ourselves, and really start
yeah.
to understand these multi-layered frequencies that are happening? What are your thoughts? I'm standing here right now in Lake Taupo in a beautiful retreat space. And there's a vast difference between an intellectual experience and passive listening to a fully embodied lived experience. Because that's what retreats can do. They can help you land, start to truly reconnect to yourself, to others, to nature, and to spirit as well. There's so much in it. That's why we created Live in Flow, and that's why we are so passionate about getting this work out there and bringing people together. If you want to find out more when our next retreat or event is coming up, just check out the link below. And now, back to the podcast.
Well, in these light places that are coming down and that have been coming down, if you consider that one day here is if you go there just 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that's 3 weeks in human time. So time is much quicker there. So when they come down, time is faster, light goes faster, the particles are faster. So when that descends in our systems, our time speeds up as well. And so that has an impact on emotions, on thoughts. So everything is faster, and our evolution is accelerated, and we have to move with that. We have to deal with that. And so that's very technical. So having to undergo acceleration, it's already quite difficult. And if then you have underlying trauma or emotional blockages, then it becomes really difficult. And then I often think that's why in this society people are very quickly, on the edge, aggressive, because there's too much in their system and it's being put under pressure. I think it helps to look at their I am presence. I'm not sure everyone does. I think there are a lot of people that just look the other way and try to cope with what is. Those are my thoughts about that.
But we never.
What do you think?
Well, we never taught as well. We never taught to really look within and start to understand these other aspects of ourselves. For me to get to where I am in this moment on my journey, I was like ping-ponging all over the place because I had no direction or guidance into really understanding what it means to be human, or the multidimensional parts of being human. I had all the willingness in the world to want to expand, grow, and go into new depths. But there was no one, and this was going back, I'm aging myself here a bit, but, the internet really hadn't kicked online yet. Like, it was just coming in, yes, the odd books, but there was no understanding where I think, wow, if, because if you don't know what you don't know.
It wasn't prototyped yet.
Yeah.
It wasn't here yet. No, I agree. And there were trodden paths, but it didn't go as deep as it goes now. And I think it goes deep now because of the light that is because of the consciousness that is imbuing Earth. We have to go deeper. Luckily, we can now with all those people doing light work and healing, etc.
What has it done for your sensory perceptions then? Because right at the very beginning, I said, how does one get to the point where, you can tune into the frequency of the soul, the sound of the soul? And you said it's a journey, right? And now I'm starting to get a deeper understanding of that journey to how you get to that point. But what have you noticed as you've kind of, let's just call them wounds, energetical wounds or blocked energy, as that's slowly been releasing, your body's been adapting. You said your bones feel even lighter, which, by the way, really resonates with me because I've had multiple releases in this last 2 or 3 weeks that have intensified, where I felt like it was coming out of my bones.
Yeah,
like
it's good
my
that it comes out of your bone.
Like I was like this,
Yeah.
but it was hard to hold for 24 hours. It was like, oh my God, I have a family, I got 2 young children. Yeah. It's wild. Like
You're doing it for them
I
too.
know exactly 1000%. But when you're in it,
Yeah,
it sucks.
I know.
Jesus. Yeah. Anyway,
I'm so sorry. We all have to do it.
well,
Yeah, and the bone marrow is important. I always, with people work with the bone marrow because there you have the nervous system, but you also have the nervous system of the soul. Important. A soul has trauma. Not many people know that. You have to work on that nervous system too. It's all there, and in the bone marrow itself are all the deep-rooted patterns. So it's very good that you're releasing from the bone marrow. It means you're taking things by its core. That's what I feel. I personally feel.
yeah, it's time. It's time. Like I've cleared a lot over the years and can see it work with energy a lot. Like it floats through me easily. Energy, it comes very naturally to me. But I know it's time now to
ground yourself.
more and
Like
really, but all the aspects, it's getting in there. Anyway, so.
And so you're getting lighter, right? That's because you're talking about the bones.
Yeah.
So you feel you're getting lighter.
I feel the shifts, and I've noticed even inflammation more and more is leaving the body as well, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm curious to see what happens. So, so with yourself, then talk to me about the sensory perceptions and things like that. So, how has that evolved for you?
I have to explain that indirectly. So I have to explain a bit more the journey to explain how I came. Is that what you want? So to know how I came to that point or how it is to feel that?
Both, yeah.
Oh, so so at a certain point, as I said, I was downloading these transmissions of Venus light. But then I went to Egypt and I was in these temples and I came back home and I felt, no, I need to tell a story. So I started to write a book and so I started to talk with these temples and they told me their story that actually, they can activate your core soul consciousness. So they are so multi-layered that if you want to go to the deepest essence and you visit them, they can do that for you. So I wrote a book about that. And while training myself and talking, and they were giving me transmissions, and then the Venus light was giving me transmissions, and then I was working with people, and I learn a lot by working with people. So because when I'm reading their energy, it's like I'm in a new world, and I'm and that every world is new, and I have to adapt to every world and discover, okay, what is this here? It's like moving to another planet. And so I started to notice on these very deep levels how souls are different, how they are structured differently. We all have a basic prima mater structure, but in the end, they function differently. When they come out of creation, they do different things. They are traumatized in different things. And so I was creating this landscape of souls how are they born, when they come into existence, what happens to them, how do they fragment multidimensionally, etc. And so as I was doing all that, working with Isis, and I work with Mary Magdalene, and tell me if I'm too abstract, but
No, go.
what they always showed me is Isis incarnated many times on Earth, and what she said is, I use the Earth as the rock through which, as water, I descend to sculpt myself. And so in my work, I perceive that as well, that doing my transmissions, working with the people I work with, is that sculpts my sensatory abilities. So at a certain point, I could hear someone's anger. He didn't need to be angry, or she. I can hear it. And then I started to hear vibrations, hear colors. I think that is just how I am wired, because we each have a certain predominant, how would I say? I think you maybe wouldn't hear it, but you could taste it or see it. So it depends on who you are and who I am, and my soul is different than yours, and you have certain capabilities. That's my thing.
So even so even in your daily life now, like those sensitivities. So for instance, if you put your awareness on it, you could tune into my energy field, or sometimes conscious.
Yeah.
And it's just like, like there's a knowing that comes in, or you're hearing it. Is that what I'm?
And I see it. I can see it, for instance, where the blockages are, where the energy needs to be able to flow through so that your light can flow more through. For instance, the chest, the heart, there is existential insecurity. It's in the rib cage, etc. It needs to flow through because the heart needs to bring forth light.
Of course.
We are sovereign beings, so we don't depend on incoming things like a portal. We don't need that. We are spheres of light, and we are sovereign. We have our own energy system. We are responsible for our own evolutionary path. So your heart produces light. And so, but to produce light, new consciousness, you don't need to have lifetimes to learn something. You can produce it now. But your heart needs to have the space, and you need to feel existentially secure to do so. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you need to feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't felt safe on Earth since, I think, after Lemuria, we haven't really felt safe. And then in Cosmos, it's also in certain parts very dual. So we have quite some scars.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's fascinating. So how does that affect your daily life? So for instance, you're going to get your veggies and you're going through the markets or whatever, and there's people everywhere and you're like, holy moly, I can see you need some clearing over here. Or do you just turn it off and on? Like how?
I just turn it off and on. And when I go into the market, I chat. I'm very social. I chat. And what I cannot do is go into very huge hypermarkets, the big ones, for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Or my daughter likes to go shopping. That's very difficult. She's a teenager. So those things for me are hard. And I quickly feel tired. And then I go home because it's too much. But in general, I turn it off.
Yeah. Okay. So then when you work, go on. Sorry, I didn't know.
I won't even, I would never say such a thing to anyone because no one asked. So who am I to say something? My conversations with people, even if I work on a soul creational level, are hyper simple, and I enjoy it that way. I speak about my vegetable garden and my flowers, and things like that. That's how I enjoy
Of
living.
course. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a lot of
And my
information
dog.
that's coming
Yeah.
at you, you know? That,
If someone would ask, I would say,
yeah.
of course, and I would tune in. But
So let's say you're you're working with someone and you're tuning in and you can see there might be like you spoke of let's stay with the heart and the chest or something. And you're
yeah,
tuning in, you might say, right, there's no the light's not moving through that, it's not flowing, it's not energetically there. How then working
yeah.
with the soul vibration and what you do, how do you marry them up? How is that then?
I know the soul vibration,
Hmm.
so I know where I need to go to. I have my trajectory.
Hmm.
And then, I know the soul vibration. And then I see the human being and I see, okay, what is the state in which he or she is? And how can I get back to that point? For instance, the chest, it needs clearing. Existential insecurity, we need to go back and clear cosmic trauma, primordial trauma. It needs to be cleared. And then, um, and then that light can flow. And then there are all these different other vibrations that need to marry into one. And then you have that vibration, that core one.
Gotcha. So you're tuning into the soul, you're going back to the source of the river and being guided into then releasing that energy. Is that somebody can do by themselves as well? Or is it something that requires, I guess, guidance into getting to that part? Because they wouldn't know where to look, right?
Mm. Well, for me, the tricky part is veils and realities.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't make the transmissions, I would never ever have seen it within myself. We need to release veils to see those things. We need to be able to look beyond veils to go to those levels. So if someone is very pristine, then you can go to that level. But if why would veils be there? Let me reverse the question. Why would someone be stuck in veils?
What do you mean? What do you mean
There
by
is a
veils?
reason.
What do you mean by
We
veils?
can't see things. We can't
So
see.
there's
We can't see. We can't see, for instance, that we have a pattern that we are repeating. For instance,
right.
we can't see that. We think we have done so much.
Mm.
We evolved so far. We are releasing. We can't see what's around the corner yet because it's veiled. So why can't we see it? Maybe because if we would see it, we couldn't handle it. We sometimes we need these steps to be able to calibrate, to integrate in our life, and life needs to who we become needs to be translated in life. Otherwise, we bypass. So that needs time too. So yes, I think someone can do that. I'm certainly not the only one who does it. But it depends if a soul has many frequencies. It depends on which one you're tuning in,
Yeah.
which part of it you're tuning in.
And it's quite a journey, right? Like, when you think of I'm just bringing my male logic brain into this for a moment, but I can't even quantify the vastness of my I am presence, my soul, my expanded self, that energy, and the amount of frequencies that it contains, or the vibration. So if I start to lean into,
Yeah.
there must be a hierarchy of needs that are required for the next piece of the puzzle to be healed or moved or to be flowing, to let more of that light in on this journey. And I guess it's a case of release, integrate, expand it into the body, and then repeat, and then and then
And bring all these frequencies home. I see them like, that's my personal view, right? I see them as little diamonds, and they're all there, and they have their own colors, their own sounds. So when you start to bring them, it's a piece of your truth. But then what you were living maybe wasn't your truth. And I think that's what I'm trying to explain with veils. So each time you're bringing in a piece of your own truth. And when you bring them all in, then what people say and what many of the people say that I work with is, how could I have lived that way? And they cry for weeks saying, I regret that I lived that way because the truth is coming in. I think that's what the veils are. You bring it in, you have another piece of your puzzle, of your inner truth, of the I am presence of your soul, and you say, but I was doing that as a human. That doesn't make sense. That is external light. I live according to external light, external consciousness that was not mine, but that I adhere to because it was the collective, or it came from my family, or it came from some teachers or gurus,
It's not ours.
No, it's external. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just not yours. It's not mine. It's not my truth.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
No,
that's how I see it.
Yeah, I love that. That really resonates. I want to touch on one other topic. I've got a dot point here about the larger primordial wound. That really caught my eye.
Oh, yes.
And you talk about the original split between consciousness and form. Can you unpack that a little bit for us, please?
Well, I love to work on those levels. So the primordial wound, when a soul comes into creation, I saw it as the mouth of creation. Behind, it's like a portal, right? Behind that mouth, imagine vast space. There's nothing. There are only wishes of souls to come into existence. They wish to exist, they come. So why are we here? Because we wish to be here. And so when we come into existence, we move with group consciousness, but already then we move along with others without really pausing and stopping and feeling, okay, who am I? What do I want? In the trajectories that I do with people, some say, well, I never wanted to descend into matter. I wanted to stay there and guide souls and give them choices. I never wanted to come down here. But sometimes we do, because we just follow, because we like to be outgoing or in groups, or because we think it needs to be like that. So it already starts there, a wound. I never wanted to be here because I never wish to descend into matter, and we don't need to. We don't need to. We are already complete and whole. There's no need for us to descend, to fragment into multidimensionality. So that's one of the primordial wounds. If you have questions, let me know, because I tend to speak really abstract. I know that it's really a flaw.
Not at all. Keep going.
But I can always translate.
I'll jump in if I need to.
Okay, great. And then the split. So the soul is made of a feminine and a masculine energy, right? At a certain point, that energy was split, and the dimensions were split. It's an old esoteric story, but it happened to all souls, and we couldn't reach each other. It's as if, dimensions are stacked, but at a certain layer, we couldn't reach the other because there was a void. And so me and my twin flame, you and yours and everyone's, we couldn't reach each other. That's the separation wound. And so the way we handled it determines how we are living our relationships. That primordial trauma always circles back in the relationships that we have today. For instance, what I see then, and I do readings for people on these levels. So for instance, I'll just give some examples, right? So there is a feminine soul and her twin soul is not there. She's separated and she feels that she is not able to go alone into creation. So she seeks for that similar energy, strong, supportive, etc. And whoever comes by, she finds okay. And so she does. And so usually what I then see is that they tend to cling on to souls that then are dominant or take control, and they follow. So that's the first pattern of what we call abusive patterns. I have people coming from abusive relationships. I bring them to the primordial pattern to say, okay, what happened there? Because it has no point talking about it to resolve something. But the deeper core, if you don't touch it, that person will always experience a sense of emptiness, codependency, because that core primordial pattern, that was the first moment. What do I do when I don't have someone? And then I have souls that just they move into creation and they don't wait. They're not sad. They just are fully trusting. So these are the ones that when they step into relationships, these are healthy relationships. So that's the primordial patterning of relational issues. I'm thinking of other examples that I can give. I met souls that were really afraid and put their lives on pause. They no longer went into creation. And then when I speak with them, that same pattern reflects. They don't do much with their lives. They don't move forward. They are on pause. They are in a freeze. It's when you are alone and you don't dare to go outside, it's a freeze. It's a trauma response. So that's a primordial traumatic split. Yeah.
Fascinating.
It is fascinating because once you touch it, it's a world of difference for that person.
Yeah. What is the goal of the soul then, really? Because what I find fascinating, like just my own reflection, I'm not trying to come from an understanding of a book or from somebody else's knowledge, but more from my embodied experience, if that makes sense. So I always try and stay open and not just, otherwise I'm just feeding the mind information sometimes without a direct experience of it.
But I feel I had a vision that I was on a raft on a river, and I saw many things in the river. The water was transparent. I could see many things in the water. I could see many birds. I could see a lot on the riverbanks. And for me, that river was life, right? And in that vision, at a certain point, it didn't matter what I saw. I was just sitting on the raft, and there were rocks, and with my mind, I could navigate, and I was always content. And it didn't matter what I saw. I was in a state of bliss. And for me personally, at that point, I understood what the point was, that why we are here as souls. And that is because we want to live every experience in a blissful way. It's not about what we do, it's about how we experience it. And that is my truth.
And with that bliss, because when you're, is the wisdom and the learnings to be able to get to that point of actually just all encompassing that bliss, the heaven on earth, I guess, that I spoke of at the beginning.
I think as soon as you understand that you have everything within, there is no learning. all the answers. You don't need to seek outside, you have within. Then that learning thing stops. Then your attention outward stops, you go inward. And then at least you have the energy to experience what you're truly seeing. Because you're not seeing it, because you're always looking for something. That's how I felt.
That's powerful. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Because you have the energy to experience what you're truly seeing.
Yeah, you live it. That's the point. You have to live it.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
And then my rock just took me to shore. Then I knew, okay, that's it.
When you think about it, how many people are not living what they're seeing in any given moment? It blows my mind. Like, I'm just not present.
I think many. Right?
You only have to look at the world, or what's been projected upon us of the world is crazy, more so, you know?
Yeah.
Wow.
But with the acceleration and of time and everything, it's also very difficult for people, right? I find it difficult.
Me too.
You have many things going on. Yeah.
Totally.
Emotionally, it's difficult to stay present. And that's the thing. That's why I said earlier, but people don't want to. I saw in my vision when I was talking to you, I saw people looking sideways. And to me, it meant I don't want to go there. It hurts. I'm not sure if I can handle it. People say that to me, am I going to crumble because I need to do my job? I need to take care of my kids. Can I do this? I can't say that. It depends from person to person.
The one thing I've really come into terms with in this journey is that it's okay to lose it, for it to come up, and it's okay to feel like shit and not keep it together for a little while. I'm very fortunate. I have a very beautiful wife, supportive wife. I got 2 beautiful children. People in my life, my close friends and relationships, we can have these conversations. We all get it. We all understand the support mechanisms, and and it's okay. And the more I kind of not shy away from it, the more the beauty is coming in from the other side of allowing these fundamental shifts to happen. Because at some point we're going to have to let go anyway, aren't we? So why not now? Why not in these moments when they arise?
That's true. That's true. But even when I was going through it, and I was going through releasing the old and embodying the new me, the light, my I am, I was afraid.
Of course.
Because what it would bring me was a lot of change that I didn't necessarily want to go through.
Was it worth it?
Sure. I feel good.
That's good. I'm going to wrap up the podcast in a minute, Sabrina.
Okay.
I'm running out of time, but
all right.
Where can people?
That's lovely.
Where can people find out more about you? Where can I send them to? Website.
I have a website, enlightenmentcodes.com.
Enlightenmentcodes.com.
Yeah.
Make sure the links are in the show notes.
They can send me an email.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. And is there anything else you want to add to the conversation of everything we've covered?
That if anyone has questions, they may ask. I'm here.
They can even ask.
No, I don't want to add anything else.
That's all right. And if they're watching it on YouTube and they're still with us, feel free to pop a question below, right?
Yeah, to comment or something. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Beautiful. Sabrina, so lovely to connect.
Yes. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, you're an angel.
And thank you again.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Too.
Thank you, my lovely. Thank you so much.